Over the last couple of weeks, you have been on a collision course to try to get multiple defensive tackles into your program if you're LSU. Now, you went after guys like Simeon Barrow Jr., you extended offers to a guy like CJ West, didn't really materialize or didn't really come together. You bring in Demonic Williams from TCU, and you try to some extent, get all three. And over the last day and a half, or 2 days really, Simeon Barrow is going to, and who I believe was the best defensive tackle in the winter, or the spring portal, has committed to Miami. So sucks that you don't get him, but at least you're not playing Miami this year. But Demonic Williams is committing to Oklahoma. We did an emergency podcast. We talked about this last night, pretty much in saying that we're not going to get him. But I did try to warn you. Now, I'm going to play you a clip, and I want you to watch this, because on April the 23rd, I told you that this was something that was very plausible that could happen. Could you have gotten two of them? Yeah, you could, because you're battling for them. You're LSU. Maybe you could. But did I think that you would? No. This is what we said on April the 23rd. Andrew says, I hope we can land 2 or 3 of these defensive linemen that's in the portal. I will continue at the current moment to stand where I stand. Do I think you can land 2? I'm going to reword something I said on Monday. Do I think you can? Yes. Do I think it's plausible? No. I think that you're going to have to do what you need to do. I will be the first to come out here and say what a haul that they got in the portal. And I hope that and I tell you this all the time, nobody wants them to get the 2 top, the Williams kid and Barrow, more than I do. Because, again, when they have success, I make more money. Guys like me make more money when they are successful. So I am telling you, I want them to. I just want to be a little bit realistic. I will caution, when it comes to the portal, you got to be able to close. And the way that you close in today's world, you know what walks and you know what talks. I will leave it there. So, can you close will be the ultimate question. And here we are. 2 guys that you wanted, you are unable to close on. And it's the same thing that you and I, and the same discussion that you and I have been having. So let's walk through it. Number one, this is not on, or because I know you would want to blame somebody, and I don't blame you for wanting to blame somebody for not getting more defensive tackles in here. You cannot blame Bo Davis on this. You can't. Because this is an issue that he had to fix that was already broken. This had to be a full staff overhaul to come in here and fix it. And at the current moment, you have failed on the 2 guys that you went after. The 2 guys that you went the hardest after, I should say. Now, there's a lot of rumors that Oklahoma is giving Demonic Williams $1.5 million. And anytime that I see a transfer portal guy or a recruit with what is labeled as a handler, I'm done. You know, you got Demonic Williams' camp that is out here making fun of Eli Drinkowitz. Why? But you're going from school to school begging for money. That's neither here nor there. If you wanted the kid, you had to play ball. I've heard from people that LSU did play ball financially, but there was some decisions by not everybody that agreed at the top that potentially held you from paying somebody. The money's there. The organization is not. I know that you have hired a guy like Austin Thomas to come back here and you have hired him to be able to fix these type of things. And there's a lot of discussion if it makes your locker room an issue when you got handlers and a guy out here that's going to be bragging about how much money he's getting, all that kind of stuff. I get that. But you are in dire need of interior defensive tackles. The season's not even started, and it's not over. There are just things that you're going to have to do differently now. You're going to have to go to what – this is my opinion. Now that you have struck out with the 2 top defensive tackles in the portal, you're going to have to go to an odd man front. I don't want to hear anything else. I don't even know if they're going to run an odd man front. I don't even know if Blake Baker wants to. I know that he's going to have to. The best form of success for this team is to take a defensive tackle off the field and bring in Whit Weeks. Bring in Whit Weeks, Greg Penn, and Harold Perkins and run a 3-3-5 stack and be creative as fuck. That is what you're going to have to do defensively. Be creative on how to stop the run. Be creative on how to get after the passer. Because right now, you do not have the interior defensive lineman that you should feel good enough that can get you to the promised land that you want to be in. Also, LSU as an organization has to be more organized. And if Brian Kelly, how do I want to say this? Brian Kelly has to start being the final word. What he says has to start going here. If LSU is going after guys and they know what they're getting themselves into, you got to know that on some of these, it's going to be a bidding war. And if you lose, that you will get egg on your face. Bottom line. But here's the biggest complaint that I have, and I will always have. It's not that you don't have money, because we told you on July the 1st, schools will actually be able to pay kids through the school. It's something that was passed in the legislature literally a month ago. Don't tell me that you don't have money or can't find money. That is utter bullshit. So, what do I mean? We got to start getting this collective moving in a more organized fashion. You've got to start getting fans involved. You got to have somebody that can organize it, orchestrate it, and if any booster gets mad at it, tell them to go sit on a stick, because we are in a different world right now. By the way, I read all the same news that you do. I know that college football, as an example, is going to a TV revenue structure where they're going to be sharing TV revenue with players. It doesn't stop recruiting. It doesn't stop NIL. Blake, they're employees. The cat is out of the bag. NIL will not stop. The NFL is different because they go through a draft process. You're not going to go through a draft process in recruiting. If it were me, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., I would wake up, send out a link on all of my socials to the collective and say, please help donate. Because when you have more money in a collective, you can have fuck you money. LSU has 1 million followers on Twitter. 1 million. If each one of those followers gave $50 a month, $100 a month, $5 a month, because some people will give $500 a month, where will you be in collecting revenue? You got the money. LSU competed. So then when Dominic Williams fell through, Simeon Barrow was already out the door. mismanagement. Full mismanagement. Don't say you weren't warned. Guys, we literally just played a clip where how long ago was 10 days ago. 10 days ago, I came on the show and warned you that this is a possibility. We just, again, it is what it is. You got to hope for really good development for Dominic McKinley. You got to really hope for that you can just out-athlete some dudes and schematically do some things really well. It's what you got to do now. Maybe you do find a defensive tackle that's in the portal that you can go and get. You do have Gio Paez that you got. Maybe there's someone that you get, God forbid, if they become just like a sleeping giant and no one saw coming, like a Mekhi Wingo to some extent. I don't think a lot of people thought Mekhi Wingo would do good here, mainly because of his size. Guys, you're a position group away, in my opinion, from potentially making a playoff, and you missed. Now, can things change? Could we get into fall camp and schematically they start doing some things different? Yeah, yes. I'm not hell bent on any of my beliefs. Your opinions and thoughts can change when you see more things. But let me tell you one thing that is the biggest pet peeve of mine, without question. I see a lot of you justifying where LSU is at the current moment. There's no reason to be justifying. Oh, we ain't that bad along the interior defensive line. What the fuck have you been watching? What games? What spring game did you watch? Now, the only difference between you and I at the current moment is that I physically was at the practices, and some of you were not. So this was something that we saw over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. By the way, there was 3 practices where Emory Jones, for whatever reason, wasn't there, and Tyree Adams comes in and starts clapping cheeks all around the line of scrimmage, and nothing stops. You're not good enough at that position. If we're going to pull the Band-Aid smooth off, you're not good enough. Not right now. This is the only thing that I'm going to say about Brian Kelly. You cannot have a statement from your head coach saying and being very adamant that you are going after only defensive tackles in the portal, and when you're going after them and miss, it just looks very bad. I'm going to tell you something. I'm not completely sold that Brian Kelly didn't want both of those guys here, that wouldn't have done what needed to be done. I don't know if he's not getting hamstrung a little bit because of unorganization. When you hire a head coach, I don't give two Rudy Poos who it is. When you hire a head coach, he makes the final decisions. I don't give a flying fuck who the AD is. I don't give a flying fuck who whatever little small guru you think that you brought in. I don't care about them. You're paying him $10 million a year. You do not have more power than him in running his organization. He knows more about football than you do. Bottom line. And if he's telling you that he's in a situation where he needs a couple of guys, you as an organization, as a program, as an institution, needs to find ways to get him to the fucking promised land. If that's what he needs, we need to find ways to get it to him. Bottom line. It's not all on him, because at every institution, these head coaches are not running these collectives. That is on the AD and the AD's administration. It's time to get with it. Everybody knows you got money. Guys, LSU has orchestrated NIL deals that would make your toes curl. But when it comes down to brass tacks of getting things done, the unorganization can be baffling. And they can get mad at me. I know I'm getting a phone call in the morning. I don't care because the truth has to be there. You got to go to a 3-3-5 stack. Bottom line. Unless Dominic McKinley comes in and changes the game for you defensively, which, guys, number one is unfair, and I do think is unrealistic for him as a player. Stop justifying the situation. Oh, we're going to be fine. Okay. You can be in the comments right now saying Blake is doom and gloom. I'm not doom and gloom. What's interesting is you came to me on that same day of April the 23rd saying that I was being a negative Nancy, and yet I post you the clips. I told you last night we're going to literally came out here and warned you, basically told you you're missing both of them, and that we're going to pull up clips from when you were calling my ass out saying, Blake, you're being negative. You're a negative tiger, a negative, whatever they call people that are Tiger fans that are quote unquote negative. It's time to wake up. Knowing this, well, we're going to run a 3-4. Nobody runs a 3-4. Wake up. You're going to have to get more athletes on the field. Take a DT off. Put WIT weeks on. Save all your issues. Be more athletic on defense. It's your only hope at this exact moment. If you can go and develop and get better defensive tackles, fine. But that position group is in a bad place. Very bad place. You got to look at truth. If you don't want to look at truth in the face and say, hey, man, here's where we are. Guys, I don't know what to tell you. I legitimately don't. You can't be real. It's like, look, I'll use my own life. It's like, hey, man, I look in the mirror. I know that I got to lose weight. Either I can say, well, you know what? Everything's okay. La-di-la-di-da. Or we can look ourselves in the mirror and say, we can do something about it. I am the kind of person that will say, fuck it, let's do something about it. We don't like a situation continues to be in a bad area or bad light. Let's go fix it. It's not that fucking difficult either to fix it. Send the link out on Twitter. Fix the website. Do whatever you got to do. Get money in this bitch flowing. Because let me tell you one thing. If you got that collective rolling and you're paying players really well, more than you're doing right now, you know what happens? Those players start telling other players that are recruits how much money they're making, and they will come here. You've done a really good job in high school recruiting. I will continue to warn you. The portal is a different beast. The portal is a different beast. It always will be at this point. Guys, let me say it like this. You can literally go in the portal and nab a guy like Jaden Daniels. And, oh, Blake, I'll say something. Do you really think that Jaden Daniels came here because he loves the Bayou? He knew nothing about it. You can go out and get a guy like Paul Skeens. You really think Paul Skeens came here for free? Grow up. We do have players with good NIL deals. What I'm telling you is you got to be more organized in how you execute. You can't have a position group at defensive tackle that is this bad off. Get into situations where you're going after them in the portal because you desperately need them. By the way, this legitimately is not even something that I am saying. This is something that Brian Kelly said in a press conference. That's what they needed desperately. You can't say, oh, well, and this, you know what we do too as LSU fans? New guy comes in, we celebrate the shit out of him and can't call out the bad that is, you can't, see, we always want to talk about the good. This guy's going to come in and dominate. Dominate where? This isn't a Bo Davis issue. This isn't a Blake Baker issue. Completely not a Brian Kelly issue. And before you say, well, what has Blake done? Guys, we've shown and been active in NIL. Very active. From myself, my wife, very active in NIL. We believe in it. Literally have conversations about it. Players having relationships with my kids that never would have happened in the past the way that they are now because of the partnerships that we have with them. So, yes, it's time to do your bidding too. All right. Got a couple super chats. John Sibley Butler says, thanks for your time, Blake. Demonic Williams from TCU started as a 3-star. Do DTs develop later than other players? With a $20 super chat? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of defensive tackles, if you notice, that Bo Davis even recruited at Texas that were 3-stars, and one of them got drafted or is going to get drafted. Secondly, yeah, I mean, a lot of them are 3-stars. So, yes. And started in a national champ. I mean, Demonic Williams started in a national championship game. Jenkins says Blake would. So thank you for the super chat, John Sibley Butler. Thank you. Jenkins says, Blake, would you rather give $2 million to one player for 1 year for us or high school recruits where you're already doing it for, I mean, come on. And also, could that be LSU's plan here? No, that's not LSU's plan. And here's the thing. If you got the inkling that Demonic Williams, like, hey, man, he's got a handler, this is a bidding war, cut ties early in the process. Cut that early. But see, we're looking at, and this is what fans have done. We're looking at it as, okay, it's all about Demonic Williams. It's not. I told you on that same April the 23rd day, I like Barrow more than I like Williams. Loved him more than I like Williams. He's not the only guys, he's not the only DT that went in the portal. Texas got the kid from Arizona. Okay, like, you were not dire here. And here's the thing. Guys, you've known this since January the 1st. Roughly. I'll even give it leeway. You knew by February 1st, at worst, it's actually like January the 20th. So you've had from January the 20th, and let's call it what it is. Guys, you know that there's conversations that happen that are not legal. Not necessarily legal. How do I want to say this? Are breaking the rules. You literally see tons and tons of teams tampering. You needed to fix it. I love, and I will continue to say how much I love what you're doing in high school recruiting. But you cannot run out there as a program and say, hey, we have a position group that we really need help at, and strike out and not get anybody. When you had a handler on Twitter that was tweeting absolutely ridiculous shit, okay, making fun of a head coach, you should have cut ties all the way from then. If his camp during a recruiting process is going to be like, hold on, I don't even know what the guy's name is anymore, but he made fun of Drinkowitz. Like, what the fuck are you doing that for? It's stupid. 1,000% was stupid. So we look at this as, oh, well, we didn't want to give the kid $1.5 million. Okay, cool. You've had since January to figure this out. There's not an excuse on this. Things weren't going to get better. You know, I remember sitting in a press conference. I think it was either Cobble or Scarborough or somebody asked Brian Kelly in January, literally in January, and asked him, hey, coach, just touching base with you here. What do you think about the DTs? And he got frustrated about it. Like, this isn't something that hasn't been known. This is a conversation that's been going on for months. So, no. Pay what you need to pay. If you think if you legitimate, let me ask you this question. Let's say hypothetically, and it's not $2 million either. It was not $2 million. I promise you it wasn't $2 million. Let me ask you a God's honest question. So you mean to tell me that you could pay $10 million a year to a head coach, $2.5 million to a defensive coordinator, $1.5 million to a defensive line coach, $1.2 for both coordinators, and $1.2 for a running backs coach. So you'll do all that, but you'll spare an expense on the guys that those coaches, when they need the players to get them here to be great. You really think that Kirby and Nick, if they really needed it, do you really, really, really think that when they wanted to strike them checks that they couldn't? I'm asking the God's honest question. And they would keep going on with high school recruiting. They keep doing what they needed to do in the portal. It's not an excuse. You know, a lot of you have asked me too, well, Blake, why are things so quiet? Why are things so quiet? Because there's not shit going on. That's why. They're bringing guys in. Sounds good. And let me tell you what else happens. I tweeted this. I didn't put it on any of my message board stuff. I tweeted it. You have other people that cover this program that gave you falsehoods, told you stuff that wasn't even close to being remotely fucking true. And they do it over and over and over and over again. And tons of fans continue to listen to this shit and get their hopes up. Meanwhile, on April the 23rd, we come out here and says, guys, it's not plausible to happen. It's just not, it's not going to happen. But yet you'll forget about that and say, and guys, this situation on other people that cover this program, it's going to happen again. If you talk to anybody in that building that's worth their weight in salt, they would have told you that, no, I don't feel good about it.